Welcome, everyone. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You're here for our second webinar of the month on surfaces and design, and today's session is called Surfaces, the Art of Mixing Material with Christine McDuffie. She's with Hallmark Building Supplies Incorporated, and she is their regional sales leader, and she'll be speaking to us. But before she does, we have another Christine with us today, and her name is Christine Whitmore, and she is going to be talking to us about the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation. And we want to thank CTEF for their generous sponsorship for all of our webinars this month. And Christine, if you're ready, we are ready to get started. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Debbie. Welcome, everyone, to the NKBA webinar series, and particularly to today's session. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation to thank you for participating. CTEF is committed to professional development for tile installers. That's why we support the NKBA webinar series and those who take continuing education so seriously. We're particularly excited about the theme of surfaces and design. Ceramic and porcelain tile are critical surface elements in an installation. And when installed by the best of the best certified tile installers who meet the requirements of qualified labor, the resulting installation it's the ultimate in design. Not only is it truly beautiful, but it is sure to withstand the test of time while addressing the functional needs of those using that space. It does full justice to your vision as a design professional. Qualified labor refers to having the most qualified professional perform the specified scope of work rather than basing the decision on the lowest price. In the case of tile, these are the installers who, like you, are committed to their craft, believe in professional development, and take the time to stay current with the latest materials and methods. Because tile is a permanent finish, the lowest bid should not be the driving factor, but rather who is most qualified to perform the scope of the work specified. This is so critical that language now exists to aid the architect, specifier, and designer in the preparation of job specifications. And the language is now part of the Tile Council of North America handbook. It's also now included in the AVITRU, formerly the ARCOM master spec. The Certified Tile Installer designation identifies the professional installer who's reached a level of proficiency to independently and consistently produce a sound tile installation that displays good workmanship using tile industry standards and methods, along with time-tested, proven best practices which are in place in the United States. The CTI program and the Advanced Certifications for Tile Installers program are the only third-party assessments of tile experience and knowledge recognized by the tile industry in the United States. And you can locate certified tile installers and ACTs using the CTEF website zip code locator. The Ceramic Tile Education Foundation is supported by all segments of the ceramic tile industry. You can find a lot more information on the website ceramictilefoundation.org. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy today's session. Christine, your turn.
Two Christines here today. And thank you to Debbie for putting all of these webinars together so that we can all continue to sharpen the blade. And Christine, you made so many great points about not being the low bid and ensuring that the people doing the labor are so important. And I think that there are times when professionals forget to tell people that, their price includes that, those professionals that they've hired, who are you bringing to your home, which is likely your largest asset. So, aside from their credentials as an NKBA member, the credentials of those who they've brought to the job with them. So thank you for that reminder. And I will also use that CTEF site. I did not know you could find a certified tile installer there. So thank you. I learned something right here at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go now. No, anyway, so I'm Christine McDuffie, and like I said, I work for Hallmark Building Supplies, and we are the marketer and distributor for Corian Design products, which is Corian Solid Surface and Corian Quartz. And we also distribute some decking materials and Tyvek, but I only work on the interior side of our business. I've been in this business for about 16 years now, both on the distribution side and for those of you working in the trenches and with the consumers designing kitchen and baths. I feel you because I used to own a kitchen and bath showroom up in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. So I hope that everybody is doing well, but I certainly I can only imagine the pain of the COVID world in the designers that are working with consumers now. So my email's there if you should need that, and we'll go ahead and get started. So the creative landscape has changed as design increasingly became a fusion of ideas, material, technology, and the environment. Those smooth transitions between art, architecture, and design, and each medium must be able to adapt, progress, and evolve with time. The architects and designers are the key to this seamless link between nature, technology, and aesthetic for both interiors and exteriors. Long-lasting, easy to clean, durable, and elegant materials have been freeing innovative minds really since the beginning of design. So today on our learning objectives, we're going to take a look at identifying surfaces and their qualities. I'm sure that most everybody on this is not going to be, oh, I didn't know about that, but it's just an effort to ground us in all the materials, and then we'll take a look at the applications and then mixing them and also layering them. So no matter how big or small a project you're working on, material selection is always an important challenge to tackle. Understanding your options through the features and benefits of a diverse surfacing material is a key step in getting that wow outcome. In this presentation, we'll show a few different materials and how they perform individually and how they work together. So let's start with a natural material. Wood. It's comfortable both in the home and the workplace due to its naturalness, warmth, and aspirational appeal. It really ties back to nature. Wood provides a homey feel, but can also be modern. It's really considered a timeless material. Wood's earth tone qualities really make it a timeless material, and yet it has great design versatility due to pattern and texture that can even be added to the material. It's also less reflective for sound in a room. You know, in an NKBA webinar, Tapping into Wellness, or maybe it was a roundtable, one of the panelists just last week had reminded us how the wood is only effective as a sound absorption if you don't lacquer it. So when I heard her mention that, I thought about this webinar for this week. I was like, oh, I should probably put that little reminder into there too. So obviously how we finish materials can also change its properties. So wood is a durable material, and it's able to handle moisture, humidity quite naturally. And often wood can even look better with age, or it can be revitalized to help maintain a crisper modern look. You know, we all know that woods can have some really exotic textures that occur naturally, or it can be relatively consistent in its look. And you don't always need to rely on the inherent patterns in wood. Here are some great examples. There's a dramatic feature wall in this bedroom that was carved into this back wall. And again, it also helps as sound. And then on the back side of this island, the pattern was routed into it. So moving on to glass, it is extremely heat resistant. So you can safely place those hot pots and pans right on the surface. This is why we have those cooktops with the glass surfaces. And I know that some consumers run screaming from those. Some of them love them. It's all about like how you want to clean, right? But they are safe for heat. And maintenance is also easy because, or should be relatively easy because it's a non-porous material. Glass is extremely durable, and because it won't age over time, there's no need to worry about visible wear or discoloration. With its wide variety of colors, textures, and shapes, glass's design versatility really is immense. I don't know if you joined NKBA last month, but they had a woman who was from the West Coast, and she owns a glass company. And wow, I mean, she was on, and as much as I've worked with it, just the additional thoughts and designing with ideas that she had. It was a great webinar. And like Debbie said at the top of the hour, that those are available 30 days after it. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, I would go to that website and see it, because she really knew her glass stuff. So on the left is a great example of the glass being able to really open up a room. If the walls weren't glass, that room would feel really small. However, by adding some color to the glass, it also adds a bit of privacy. On the right, the glass is both colored and textured, and which breaks up the eye and also offers a bit more privacy. Concrete. This is a material that really lends itself to industrial work. Here we see its use in a museum, helping to create that modern look and a blank slate for the museum. So concrete is made up of three basic components: water, aggregate, and the aggregate is composed of rock, sand, or gravel, and then there's Portland. The third ingredient is Portland cement. This combination or concrete mix will be poured and hardened into the durable material, in which we're all pretty familiar with. When cured correctly, concrete can last for decades with minimal maintenance. Concrete is already inherently strong, and modern sealer technology has helped increase its resistance to heat, scratches, stains, making it suitable for countertops and even outdoor countertops because it's durable enough to survive even extreme weather conditions. Concrete offers countless options for color. It can also be inlaid, like the other Christine was talking about. I've seen some really great concrete inlaid with a tile edge. I think that really looks beautiful. But you can also make this any shape or size that you want for a truly unique design. Obviously, it's heavy, so we have to work with gravity and be sure that it's supported. But as long as you can get that done, it can be truly a unique design. And concrete's a great texture to bring inside, whether it's on the floor, the walls, or even this really funky curved staircase, which I know doesn't pass code anywhere, but it is cool to look at. Concrete is very versatile in terms of its use. As you can see in this image, where on the wall, the floor, and the bathtub are all made from concrete, or how the fireplace flows seamlessly up the wall. We're going to talk about quartz surfaces, and this is the engineered quartz, not quartzite. Quartz surfaces include quartz crystals, resins, pigments, and sometimes other natural minerals, and sometimes glass. The main purpose of the resins is to bind the ingredients. Additionally, they provide the flexural strength and help establish the color. Pigments contribute to the color, but can also be used as fillers. However, the core ingredient quartz is principally what's responsible for the hardness and durability, and the quartz over all else defines the visual and aesthetic characteristics of quartz surfaces, contributing to their clarity, definition, depth, and visual appeal. Because quartz surfaces are man-made, the aesthetic can be more organic or industrialized. They're practical and functional, which makes them a desirable material. New technology and processes are allowing quartz manufacturers to add interesting elements such as veining and book matching to this man-made material. Quartz can also have consistent patterns, not that the pattern can be picked up by the eye, but versus a natural material where a veining may only be on one side of it or stronger on another side of the slab. Both of those can be desirable to the consumer or to the end user. They just have to know what they're getting, right? And as I talked about before, some quartz manufacturers have been able to do book matching, whereas you can see on this island, they created that great waterfall edge where the veining is able to, go up the side of it and across. So it really creates a dramatic effect and keeps those veins running together. Solid surface, that's the material that's been around for a little over 50 years now. And even though it's been around a while, we typically hear questions about what is it. So Solid surface is a combination of alumina trihydrate, acrylic or polyester, and a pigmentation. So that's in that little pie chart. The alumina trihydrate is the 60 to 65%, and then the 30 to 36 is the acrylic or polymer. And then those pigments are only actually 1 to 2%. So in solid surface, we go from the white to the dark, very dark blacks, all in 1 to 2% of that pigment. I always think that that's interesting. So the ATH is a natural mineral that's derived from bauxite. The mineral brings the hardness, impact resistance, and flame retardancy to the material. However, it also gives the material its softness that allows typical woodworking tools and machines for fabricating. So that's solid surface is fabricated with woodworking tools. There are 3 varieties of solid surface. There's acrylic based, there's polyester based, and there's acrylic polyester blend. Only acrylic based solid surface materials allow for complex thermoforming. So for today's discussion, we'll assume acrylic solid surface. Solid surface is often chosen for its functionality. It's non-porous, it's easy to clean, repairable, and it has those inconspicuous seams. It's also a very durable material. However, its design versatility is unparalleled due to its vast array of colors, the ability to backlight, route, carve, and thermoform. Solid surfaces are extremely well suited for commercial environments such as healthcare, food service, and education. And on the residential side, aside from kitchens, it's great in laundry rooms, showers, even outdoor kitchens. So let's take a look at some of its design capabilities. Only acrylic-based solid surface material can be thermoformed, and that's done by using either wood, synthetic, or metal molds at controlled temperatures. This helps to create the 2D or 3D design effects. Once the material is heated, it becomes malleable and is able to be twisted or bent. So that seat that's next to that beautiful bathtub was actually a sheet of corian solid surface that was heated up, and then it was put on a mold to create that one-piece form. We can also backlight solid surface, which draws immediate attention, as you can see in this eyewear boutique. The most common thickness for solid surface is 1/2 inch, and this allows the material to be routed at various thicknesses, and then when we backlight it, it can add that additional dimension of depth. Like in this Eli Tahari store, that back wall is all corian solid surface that's been routed and backlit, but you get the depth because the material was routed at different depths. So porcelain and sintered surfaces. This category has a few different names, as you probably know. The International Surface Fabricators Association calls it porcelain/sintered/ultra compact. So as much as I'm going to do a lot of talking today, I'm just going to cut it down to porcelain, sintered, or porcelain and sintered. Porcelain and sintered surfaces are created using natural ingredients, which include feldspar, quartz, clay, and other minerals. These minerals are formed under intense heat, 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, and you thought you were having a hot summer. And then there's pressure applied, 5,000 psi. And this creates 100% natural, non-porous material. Some manufacturers add visual texture by screening it onto the top of the material. And there are also a few that are also able to offer true body aesthetic. The material is completely inert, containing no resins or petroleum derivatives. It's resistant to acids, alkalides, deep abrasions, heat, frost, and it's unaffected by UV rays. It almost sounds like Superman's cape for your countertop. As we discussed, this surface is highly durable, and its tolerance for extreme weather conditions make it really ideal for outdoor environments. Because of the composition of the product, the edges are either the thickness of the countertop or it's a mitered edge. We've been seeing a lot more thin edge in all products, so that trend leans well with these products. So Let's think a little bit about some of these applications in different places where we don't normally use them. This image is the Montreal subway station. The concrete's been used traditionally on the staircase. However, it's also been used in that honeycomb texture on the ceiling. It makes an interesting design while also providing the function of letting the sun shine in. This is a solid surface installation on the walls. The company MR Walls uses proprietary technology to route the design and create tiles that fit together for an easy installation. So yes, that wall that looks like it's one piece was actually tiles that were created and put together. Here's a bathroom that's using that same MR Walls technology, and that technology also allows the pattern to even turn the corners. I just think, being in the industry since the year 2000, I think it's great to see how the technology has been applied to the products, and then how the designers come up with the ideas to use that, to specify that and use that technology in their design. Here's sintered surfaces in the bathroom, and the sintered is actually throughout the entire bathroom. One of the advantages of sintered is that it comes in several different thicknesses and some very thin, so it would be easy to clad the walls or that tub skirting in a thinner, but yet still coordinate the whole bathroom together. I think that even if it's a smaller bathroom, but by doing this all in the same surface, it creates a monochromatic look, which certainly makes it feel a little bit bigger, but the veining in the center really gives it an interest too. Here's a bathroom that's clad in solid surface. In this bank, the wood staircase becomes the main feature. The pattern wood creates that beautiful organic spherical shape. And as you can see, the wood throughout the large space keeps it warm, but also helps dampen the noise. And many banks are working to revamp their image of the traditional bank. So here we see solid surface being used to create a more modern and approachable feel. And there's that mix of polished and matte finishes, which also adds to the interest. In this hospital design, the glass was used to create the more expansive feel between the room and the hallway. But then the lines on the wall and the floor and the ceiling are all playing with that perspective, drawing our eye out to make that feel like a bigger space. Solid surface has certainly been used in countertops and RVs, yachts, and aircraft for a long time. But here they took it a step further and designed the cabinet fronts with solid surface. And again, because solid surface is fabricated with woodworking tools, you can get a really great fit. And solid surface is designed to take the impact that is surely to occur when this home starts rolling. And out on the seas, again, like I said, we certainly have put a lot of solid surface in yachts, and it's UV stable, so that they don't have to worry about when that sun comes up in the morning, damaging the color or the aesthetics of that table. So the rusted metal and the wood in this library all help create an organic and earthy clean feel. The tables and chairs have a more modern feel to them and create some uniformity and elegance. Completely different feel in this library with the concrete ceiling and the dots of carpet and the upholstered furniture to help soften the edges. The rib wood helps to make things finite here, but also gives an organic shape to the bar top and the ceiling. It combines well with the polished concrete on the floor and walls. So while all materials can stand out on their own, often you mix different materials together. The results can be beautiful spaces where each product can not only shine, but perform. This is the Triangle building in Denver. The quartz-clad walls that brighten the space and lay the modern feel while the undulating wood drop ceiling continues the modern feel but adds warmth to the space. And then the solid surface is used to create the desk, as it could be thermoformed to reflect the wave that's already in that ceiling. In this public space, a pattern is repeated throughout the fabric, the etched glass of the fireplace, and the solid surface around the fireplace surround. I'm sure any fans of Tetris are trying to fit all those floating pieces into that right now. Here, the materials seamlessly flow from one to the other. Even when the blue cabinet ends, it picks up on the other side of the shelf. The solid surface countertop and the lighting pull all of this together. And this is sort of a play on mixing materials because the walls look like wood, but they're actually a sintered surface, and the floor is also a sintered surface. I'm sure we're all familiar with the tile that's created to look like wood. I mean, we all see that quite a bit, but now the sintered surfaces can do the same. This staircase incorporates the glass, wood, metal, and even a thermoformed curved solid surface. And this is a great example about how, each product gets to perform well, but also works well together. Earlier, we looked at an example of the solid surface in an outdoor table on a yacht. Here, the material is taken to a new level. The solid surface is integrated into the headboard in those hexagon backlit features, and also those end tables, the veining that goes up from it that's backlit. The backlit's both functional and beautiful while working really well with the wood and glass elements in the room. And you can also see, it's a little hard to see here, but on the back, there's also glass that gives some divide between that bathroom and the bedroom. The outdoors always creates a great challenge when selecting materials, let alone trying to flow from one to another. The wood, glass, and highly polished aluminum create this curved exterior at the Calgary Public Library. Here, the wood bench was created with an integrated solid surface planter. The wall flows with the wood and solid surface and those embedded plantings on the wall. Even the lighting on the ceiling flows together and follows the pattern of the wall. Here, a solid surface with a wood laid on top as a snack bar. The white is mixed in matte and finished glosses. Certainly, mixing countertop materials has become pretty common, and it can accomplish a variety of goals. Here, the quartz island is clearly the star of the show while being very functional. And the solid surface on the perimeter gives the eye a place to rest before taking in that beautiful glass tile on the backsplash. I think that this is a very literal mixing of wood and quartz. And as I mentioned before, I think it's great how the technology has come along so far. There's, this piece, I think, would be very hard to have done just a few years ago. And you can see that they notched it out and integrated the two together. And then you might also notice that the countertop is also used as the toe kick in this piece. Here, the designer is mixing the wood, glass, and concrete. The use of the patterned wood on the shower floor not only provides functionality, but also provides an element of dimensionality to the room. And it's hard to see, I believe, but there is a divider between the toilet and the shower with that very clean glass panel. Now, I don't want to be the person that's in charge of keeping that glass panel looking like that, but it does make for great open design. So another dimension in surfacing is the effect of using layering materials, and which can create a really unique space. And in this next step, what they do is they'll actually stack the different elements on top of each other in such a way that the space feels textured and neat. Layering is used in the next few slides, and it once again pairs the different materials together. Here we see that concrete staircase, which is layered with the wood. The wood, like we had talked about before, provides a dampening of the sound, but I'm pretty sure on your feet it probably feels a little bit nicer than on a barefoot. At least it probably feels a little bit nicer. But it certainly has a beautiful look to it also. Rather than have this concrete table sit adjacent to the wood wall, the designer chose to layer the concrete over the wood table and the wood of the wall, creating a modern and warm feel at the same time. So although this is a fairly small picture, there's really quite a bit going on. The concrete floor is continued up the walls and the ceiling. The glass was used to help expose the ancient walls of that building, and then the wood was layered in to bring warmth to it, and I'm sure it also had a dimension of functionality to it too. Here's another way that layering was used to bring warmth and color into a modern white kitchen. The wood was layered right over that quartz island, and I love how that natural edge was left like that too. So here's a large kitchen with two very large islands, and the island in the foreground is actually triple layered. So it has the wood, and then there's that great quartz countertop that has the miter fold, very long drop edge. It's not quite a waterfall, it doesn't quite go to the ground. And then on top of that is actually a shell stone that's inlaid and also miter folded on top of that gray quartz countertop. And yes, there is a lot going on here in this space, but it's also a really large space, and it could take on a cavernous museum feel without the mix of all these materials. Even looking at the hood, it layers in stainless and the matte black metal. So, and then that, shiny tile out on that back wall that you can just about see off the edge of the other island. If you were at KBIS in 2019, maybe you saw this. It's from Plato Woodworks. They have a quartz countertop, and that's throughout the entire piece there. And then on top, that block that looks a bit like concrete is actually a solid surface. So they layered that on top of the quartz countertop. And I think it's interesting how a lot of different products have a concrete look to them, but are not concrete. I've seen certainly a fair amount of tile also created with a concrete look. So there are so many surfaces that are ideal for a wide variety of residential and commercial applications. They each feature something unique in their functional characteristics, and they can deliver important end user benefits such as low maintenance and differentiating aesthetics, and they're beautiful, especially when you put your hand and design to them. So I want to thank you for joining us today, and I will ask Debbie if we have any questions.
Well, thank you, Christine McDuffie. This has been great, so interesting, and I just want to get a thanks here to the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation for sponsoring today's session, as well as all of our webinars for August. And we do have some questions, and of course, anyone out there in the audience, if you have more questions, I've been collecting some, but please put them into the chat. So let's get started, Christine. So there have been similar questions about this. Is a sintered surface the same as porcelain? Is it a solid surface like corian or porcelain like tile? So I think people are looking for trying to understand the differences.
Yes. I would recommend that if you don't know about this, the International Surfacing Association of Fabricators, they have some good definitions out on their website, but the sintered and porcelain surfaces are the same and also ultra compact. So the way that those are made is the natural materials are brought together and then they're fired at 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, and then they apply 55 or 5000 psi to it to create the shape of it. So it gets super hot, and then they squish it together with a ton of psi, which is why it's such a dense, hard material, and why, for a material that can be, 6 or 8 millimeters thick, it's suitable for countertops. Whereas typically with other surfacing, 2 centimeters is sort of where, we don't usually go much below that in, a quartz or even a granite. I hope that helps, and maybe that source on the international, it's ISFA, ISFA now.org is their website.
Okay, I just typed that in. Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
And if Christine Whitmore, if you've got some thoughts on there about information from the Ceramic Child Education Foundation, please feel free to put them into the chat or open up your mic if you don't mind, if that's okay with you, Christine.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. All right, so let's see here. Thank you for that. And
just to be clear, like the process of making porcelain tile is different from making that porcelain countertop. It's similar in the way that it uses those natural materials, but the heat and pressure is at a different, the way that it's made that way is what makes it different. So porcelain tile is not the same as the porcelain countertop. Tricky, I know.
Okay, thanks for that. And I just wanted to mention to everyone in the audience that Christine Whitmore put she's asking to locate a, not asking, but mentioning to locate a certified tile installer. She put that address out there for all of you. So just wanted to mention that. And let's see. So someone mentioned, it was a comment, but solid surface is also not as cold to the touch as stone. And
that's very true, especially for, those that live in maybe the northern climates. Years ago when I was designing my own kitchen and my own offices, I wanted a solid surface desk because it was in Wisconsin, and if I had had a quartz desk or a stone desk, it would have been pretty cold to sit at. And even the island in my house was someplace where I would sit and work pretty regularly, and it was much more comfortable to have that solid surface, which was warm to the touch.
Okay.
It makes great shower seats too.
Oh, that's a good idea, right?
Yeah, beautiful tile surround with a Corian solid surface seat to keep your, your parts nice and warm.
Right. So I was wondering, someone is asking, did you mention that solid surfacing comes in less than 3/4 inch thickness? I just heard you say something about measurements, but I didn't catch that.
Oh, traditionally, the most standard size, and this is throughout pretty much all solid surface products, 1/2 inch thickness is the standard size. And I even believe that the 30 inches by 144 inches long is like the standard sheet size. So 1/2 inch thick, and then the edges are made, they build up the edge to create that inch or inch and a half thickness that you would see. But I've also seen a lot of solid surface installed with just that thin edge, with just that 1/2 inch, makes a really crisp look to it. So 1/2 inch most common, and that's what's used on countertops. A lot of manufacturers offer 1/4 inch material, which we use in cladding, showers, outdoor applications, vertical. But 1/4 inch is not approved for any type of countertop.
Okay, let's see here. So one of the other people is mentioning, since we're talking solid surfaces, something about sealing it because it may stain. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, the way that solid surface is made is it actually is a non-porous material. So you don't need to seal it. It's naturally non-porous. When the alumina trihydrate, when that white powder combines with the acrylic, it comes together and it starts out as a liquid, and then it forms into a non-porous solid. And the thing that, especially when I'm talking to consumers, this is what I always tell people: nothing's ever in it, it's just on it. So the thing that does happen with solid surface, though, is that it actually likes to be cleaned with something that's a little bit abrasive. So in a solid surface sink, you can go all the way to like a Scotch-Brite pad or something like that, and on the countertop, soft scrub and a sponge work great to bring that countertop back to its original beauty. Because usually what happens with solid surface is because it is warm to the touch, people wind up touching it an awful lot and we leave our oils behind. So it starts to look shiny in certain places. And that's the way to clean that up.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention that I did put some links. Thank you, Christine. I did put some links from Christine Whitmore into the text chat, as well as someone, thank you for correcting me, Lori, on the isfanow.org. So that link is now also into the text chat, so thank you for that. And let's see, so this person that was talking about the ceiling, she said, I was told that concrete can be high maintenance because it has to be sealed, otherwise it stains. So any thoughts on that?
Concrete is a porous material, and actually concrete technically cures throughout its entire lifetime, which is interesting because it is, can have such great longevity. Obviously, its curing is on a J curve, and the majority of it happens within the first 45 days of owning it. But that's what people love and don't love about it, because it can create that a patina over time, or it can even change its coloring over time. There are some concretes that are made with a mixture that are less porous and more suited towards a countertop application, but they still do need to be sealed in order to create a non-porous environment for food preparation.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, someone was actually commenting here about going back to solid surface, and he said, we struggle on selling customers on the solid surface. Any tips to sell the product?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. I have to say that when I owned my kitchen and bath showroom, very few people ever came in and asked for solid surface. But just like so many of the other products that we specify, what we do is we find out what people are looking for. And if I know the consumer walks in and says, I saw HGTV and I need this quartz thing and I need it right away. But, maybe they don't like the noise of it, or they don't like the cold touch of it, or maybe they want a cove backsplash or something like that. So finding out like what they're trying to accomplish and what they're looking for, and then offering that as an option. Usually I would like to tell people like, all right, well, and when they come in with the idea of, I want this, usually I would back them up and ask like, well, how did you get there? What did you see? What was it that appealed to you about that? And then sometimes they'll give you a little clue, which gives you the opportunity to present another material. I also think it's great if you have a solid surface fabricator that you work with and have a little bit on display. And maybe it's in, a bit more of an unusual application that you have, like I said, laundry rooms or even a shower seat, so that people can touch and feel it, because we all know that that is still important to people. The other thing that is important to know about, like I said, about the Corian solid surface, is that because we can pull it together and it's seamless to the touch, because when we create a Corian countertop with Corian, we actually use liquid Corian. So the joint adhesive actually seams it all together. So there's no place for any dirt or grime. And we used to think about this as like very sanitary. And I know in our homes we started thinking like, well, I clean it well, I don't need it to be sanitary. Well, I think in the last 5 months we've all learned that sanitary has a new meaning, and the solid surface definitely leans into that very well. And the generation that's grown up post September 11th, one of the things that they like in their homes is to feel safe. And the Corian solid surface, or the solid surface, can help them feel safe in that environment by knowing that it's been around for 50 years. The solid surface companies offer great warranties, and also that it's non-porous, and it'll help keep them and their family safe.
Oh, okay. Now here's a comment from someone about, you were talking about Corian. She says that Corian can melt if a hot pot is placed on it, but stainless steel rods can be embedded to use as a trivet. So thank you for that.
That's very true. And, I think that I used to always, whenever the consumer would ask, like, can I put hot stuff on it? Usually I would ask, is that something you currently are doing? Because, like Christine from the the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation would note is that, because ceramic tile is fired at such a high degree, you can put hot pots and things on it. But that's not that common of a countertop, particularly, north of Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. So I would ask the people, is that something you're accustomed to doing? Well, no. I'm like, okay, so, and typically it would lean into the I'm concerned about the kids cooking, or I'm concerned about the babysitter, or, whatever it is. And I was just like, the cookie sheet that's coming out of the oven with the chocolate chip cookies on it, you can set that on the solid surface. That's fine. But again, I think overall, for any of these countertops, you've invested in them. You're investing in your home. Make use a trivet, and when something hot does get set on it, don't leave it there, because it's also how hot is it and how long is it going to be there. So that's what usually and then there is that solution of if somebody is in the habit of putting hot stuff, or they want a zone to put hot things on, you can definitely put those stainless steel rods in, or again, I've also seen tile inlaid into countertops.
Okay, there's a lot of questions here about solid surface today, Christine.
Wow.
So someone was asking, are there solid surfaces that are transparent?
Yes, and when I talked about the solid surface category, I was just talking about the acrylic base, but I had mentioned that there is also a polyester base. And the reason that the polyester base exists is because it does allow the solid surface to have a more transparent look to it. So you will find that there are some solid surface companies that do have that offering. Is it okay if I mention who
Yes.
it is? It doesn't happen. In fact, it's not ours. So the Corian solid surface is all acrylic, versus Avenite does have some ones that have some additional transparency to them. So I would point you in their direction. The only other thing I have to note about the polyester is it doesn't pass the Class 1 fire rating. So if this needs to be in a commercial or apartment building or something like that, that product won't pass that, whereas the acrylic solid surfaces all carry the Class 1 fire rating.
Okay, and then someone's commenting, another benefit of solid surface is integrated sink that doesn't have to seem to be cleaned. So
right.
Sink?
So yeah, the sinks can be integrated right into the countertops, and this is different from an undermount. And years ago, I went and saw a customer up in Minnesota, and he was quite a character. And he sold a ton of Corian sinks, both in the vanity and the kitchen. So I asked him, I was just like, so how do you do this? And he said, so when somebody comes in here and they want a different sink underneath their Corian countertop, like they want a stainless steel, I don't think composite sinks were that popular at the time. I don't even think they had really come out yet. But he's like, when they want a stainless steel or something else, I ask them what they have right now. And if they have an undermount sink, I tell them to go home and run their finger under that undermount. And if they like what came out underneath that finger, I'll put in whatever sink they want. But once they feel the grime and slime that's in there, they're going to see that this Corian integrated sink creates this, no place for any dirt to hide. At my house, if dirt hides, it takes a long time for it to get clean. Like, I'm 5'4". Whatever's on the top of the fridge, it only gets cleaned off when I get up to that cabinet and go, oh, I need a vase. Ooh, wow, someone needs to clean up here. So again, if you're one of those immaculate people and you clean that really well, then maybe that's not an issue. But I know that for the solid surface, when my kids were growing up, the toothpaste, I don't know how children can manage to spray toothpaste all over the place, but at least I knew that the sink was clean.
Good point. That is a really interesting point. So let's see here. There's still some questions. So someone was asking, can you expand? I think a while back you were showing a photo or two with backlit solid surface. Can you expand on that and how other designers may have used these in kitchens and baths?
All solid surface has some level of translucency to it. So like I talked about, Avenite, their polyester blend is very translucent. In the Corian realm, we have a variety that are actually designed to be backlit to some of the Onyx series. And I have found, and I hope that Hayfella doesn't mind me hopefully flooding their lighting department, but the Hayfella folks at Hayfella and working with a professional lighting can really help understand how that's going to look backlit. So I would suggest working with a professional on the backlighting. And there's a variety of like there's mats that you can put down. But the other trick is making the lighting somewhat accessible. So if bulbs or a switch or something needs to get pulled out, creating some sort of access panel so that that can be done. Um, there are, it is shocking the things that you can create by backlighting chlorine solid surface or any solid surface really.
Okay. So someone's commenting, how do you choose a solid surface fabricator that can execute your ideas? I seem to find fabricators that like traditional squares and are less excited about creating something out of the box.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I agree with that completely. There are certainly fabricators who are involved in more of a high volume shop and getting folks together to figure out how to create something that's curved or thermoformed or something like that. I would I would encourage you to reach out to your distributor of whatever solid surface you prefer because they have those really tight relationships with the fabricator network. And that's what I'm usually thinking of. Like when I'm pairing up my kitchen and bath, the kitchen and bath designers that work in our GMA, and they're looking for a fabricator, I start asking them, what kind of designs are you looking for? Do you need, and that way I can pair them with somebody that has that, not only the the tools and the technical, because there are a lot of fabricators who can make it, but they're also inclined to. It's part of their critical business, right? That they don't make rectangles all day long, and when you bring them something that's interesting, they want to work with you on it.
Okay. So we're still on solid surface here. Can any solid surface be used on the floor? If so, it would be softer for a living in place project. Thoughts on that?
Yes. Solid surface can be definitely used on the floor. And the thing is, it's not warranted for the floor. So, and I don't know of any manufacturer that does warranty it. I know that Corian does not warranty it for the floor. But I actually had a solid surface floor in my basement bathroom in my house in Wisconsin. And it was, and we pulled the seam together and it was great. We even, we were able to put the warm touch floor underneath it. And it was a great warm material and it was very nice to the touch and feel. So you can do it. It's just that you would also need to work with a fabricator on cutting because again, we're working with the raw material is 30 inches wide and 144 inches long. So I don't think there's any tile installer that wants to install that size. So maybe working with your fabricator to cut to size or however that could work. Different, not a common application, but it can be done and it can be done successfully.
Okay. So here's a little. There's a couple of people asking similar questions about. Can you discuss the environmental impact of the various materials and the sustainability of these materials?
Oh boy. Well, that's a
whole different discussion, right?
It really is. And here's one of the things that I think is interesting about about solid surface is that it actually does get green points. And most people think like, how can something that's manufactured get green points? And the way that the Corian solid surface gets green points is because it can be repaired. Like we can literally use the material to repair cracks, pull seams back together, an edge gets chipped. All of those can be repaired, and so it's designed to last a lifetime. So that's one of the reasons. The other thing is that bauxite ore, the alumina trihydrate, is actually a fallout of a mining process. We're not going in to get that. It's just what falls out from going in and getting aluminum. So because of that process too.
That's interesting.
The thing about quartz, and I would also say about a granite product, is that it's not very friendly to the environment. And I've been to places where the quartz is mined, where the white quartz is mined. There's a plant up in Montreal, And I've also been to, granite places where they're cutting it out of the earth. There's nothing friendly about this. So it's hard to push that idea. But it's certainly natural, and then, it's heavy stuff. So shipping it across the United States, or across the water. None of that all takes petroleum-based items. So I think that they only really qualify in that like long term, and there's no off gassing, with a quartz product either. So they might qualify that way. And the same with wood materials. I know that bamboo has, because it grows so fast, but it's certainly not indigenous to North America. So we have to go and get it from other places. And how does it get here? That's on a petroleum base. So it's difficult, I think, to be that conscientious of it. I had a dealer in Austin who was talking about how the people of Austin like the pink. There's a pinkish granite. It has a name. I can't remember what it is, but I always call it the pink granite because it's local. They think like it gets mined locally. Well, it gets mined locally, and then the blocks get sent on a truck up to Cold Springs, Minnesota, to get cut into slab sizes, and then they're sent back. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for designers, and I think that maybe it's a presenting those issues and letting the consumers decide what their trade-offs are going to be.
Okay. I'm not sure if you mentioned this or not, but what is there a difference between quartz and quartzite?
Oh yeah, the quartzite's actually a completely natural material. Like that slab was created that way in the earth. So similar to granite, how we go into the earth and go get the granite, and we pull out a piece of rock and we cut it to size that is manageable for us to ship and fabricate and install. The quartzite is actually those same, and some of them, I mean, I have seen some really stunning, beautiful pieces of quartzite. They also do tend to be non-porous, but the price point is a little stiff on quartzite. So just something to keep in mind. And they can also be backlit too. Really stunning.
And I'm glad you brought that up about price, because someone asked, how do the different surfaces compare price-wise, like between solid surface quartz and porcelain slabs?
So the solid surface, it has typically between 1 and 5 price groups. And I would say that in an entry-level simple countertop, you can usually get down to around $40 a square foot. That's sort of the number that's in my head. I use it nationwide. Nobody's ever really told me that's crazy. I can't do that. You might be able to get it a little bit less, but it's a safe number to go to the consumer with. Like if I were at a trade show talking to a consumer, or a home show talking to a consumer, I'd say it starts around 40. And certainly there are level 1 granites that can come in less for that. And maybe this is where you might want to start that conversation around what's environmentally friendly, because I think we all know that those granites at the very low price point are coming from overseas. They're coming from China, where they have negative impact on the environment. So, where your granite is mined also makes a big difference in that. So the granite, huge range, right? You can get to $25 a square foot, and there's some granite that's, $6,000 to $1,000 a square foot. But I would say that like the level 3 or 4 granites probably start in the 55 to 70 range. And typically when I'm talking about quartz, whether it's 2 cm or 3 cm, usually we can get between $60 to $100 a square foot. The sintered porcelain, that group, I believe that here we're talking, it's starting in the $75 to $90 range. So it's definitely going up. And most of that is because of the tools and the fabrication that's needed in creating those countertops. It really does, it requires some very specialized fabrication.
Okay, that's great. That's very good information. So we're going to talk a little bit about just a couple more questions. There are some materials that are more difficult to blend due to silicons or other sealants. They're asking that question. Are there some? For instance, this person thought that solid surfaces cannot be sealed next to quartz or porcelain. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the solid surface doesn't need to be sealed at all, and actually, it's great to integrate with other products. And because it is it's worked with woodworking tools. When we're trying to marry it up with another surface, we can actually mill it down to match the thickness, or build it up to the thickness that you need to match it. So it can really become a very seamless. It can it can flow from one to the other very nicely. But no, and yes, if you were flowing the Corian solid surface countertop to a butcher block, you wouldn't you wouldn't seal your butcher block anyway, or at least you shouldn't. Um, but you don't need to seal the Corian solid. You don't need to seal the solid surface, any solid surface of any type. So it can be it can be a great way of integrating, and it's really commonly used as in thresholds because it's so easy to mill down even on a job site. So if regardless of if the tile is quarter inch or 3/8 or whatever that is, the Corian threshold can be easily sanded or sawed back to match that thickness without creating an edge for someone just stub their toe on or something.
Okay. You had, well, again, another question on solid surfaces. Can it be used on a fireplace surface?
Oh, no, it doesn't like that kind of heat. So you would definitely want to stay away from that. And even with quartz surfaces, the only type of fireplace surround you'd want to do with a quartz surface is a gas fireplace. So a quartz surface can take that heat, but once you get into a natural fireplace, now we're into that, the ceramic tile or the tile or granite or the porcelain surfaces.
Okay. So getting back to mixing the materials, if mixing the different material with wood surfaces together, which surface is the best to choose from? For example, solid surface with wood, or quartz with wood, or concrete with wood. Which do you think is the most common? I can read that again if you want me to.
No, I would say that it's probably either the granite with wood or the quartz with wood. And the reason I say that is just because those two surfaces are such a large portion of what is in the upper level of, we're talking about combining surfaces or mixing them together. We're not in the laminate countertop world, right? So we're out of that and then we're into something else. And so I think that is more common. But I also think that it's more about like what's the look you're trying to achieve. And the solid surface definitely, like I had said before, it combines really well with wood, and because it can be milled down or built up to match whatever thickness of wood you're working with, it can be great that way. But there's also easier ways to work with a step down or a step up between a 3 cm slab and a piece of wood too. So I always, that question of like, which countertop is the best? I'm always because I usually get that, like even now, I mean, I work in the surfacing industry. My aunt and uncle just sent me a little like, hey, we're doing this, what's the best? And I was just like, it's all about like, what are you looking for? Like if you want that integrated sink, you can only get that with Corian with a solid surface product. If you love the veining that's in something, or the cool touch, then you're in granite or concrete or a quartz product. If you don't want the sealing, then you probably want to step away from the concrete or the granite. How do you want to live with it, and how do you want it to look?
Okay. And then someone was asking about the, early on you showed a photo with, I think it was a bed, and also I think it was an island with wood tile pattern, tiles that look like wood in different directions. And they were wondering where the wood panels came from and if you know the source.
Oh, I don't know the source. I only know the source of the two photos. The one photo was from Mark Woodman, who is the past president of the Color Marketing Group, and the other one was from OMG or OM Group in Asia. But that concept is pretty easy to have replicated either at a millwork house I mean, a millwork house, anybody who has a CNC machine
Yeah.
can route that pattern into any product, like either a solid surface or a wood or anything like that. They can do that. So I would, if I were looking for that, I would look for a local millwork house that maybe does higher end work.
Okay, that's good to know. And then there's a question here about liquid corian. Do you have to, you mentioned that earlier, do you have to go through a fabricator to get it?
Yes, the joint adhesive, here's the Corian and DuPont have a 10-year installed consumer warranty. And what that means is that we stand behind it as a system for 10 years, including the labor and the installation. So when we go out on a warranty call, we want to establish one that it's our product, and then typically we ask the consumer for a proof of purchase so that we know about how old it is, because Corian's been around for 50 years. But if we started selling our product to people who didn't know how to manage it, and I understand that there are some really high-level do-it-yourselfers out in the world, but if that Corian installation doesn't go well, then it could wind up in a warranty claim, whereas that's why we only sell to our certified fabricator network.
That's good to know. Thank you for that. And then just one more question, and I do think we need to wrap, and I appreciate that you spent so much time with us, Christine. It's been so great.
I'm so happy that everyone had questions about solid surface.
It's amazing. So the one person here, and I'm kind of wondering, he's asking, he said, you haven't mentioned stainless steel at all today. Is there a reason for that?
Oh, you know what? I didn't want to talk about stainless steel, and that wasn't originally in this
presentation.
And I'm not the originator of this, but I did make some changes to it. But stainless steel comes in so many different grades, like an 1810 or 18.5, and it's all about the nickel that's in it. And I'm not an alloys specialist. I'm not saying I'm a specialist in wood by any means, but I can talk knowledgeably about it. So I did look at it, and I also think that people, designers who work with stainless steel are familiar with that. So that was the reason that I didn't. But certainly, it can be a great element to bring in, not just in sinks, but in backsplashes. It adds, great touches all around our world.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I can see why, because that would actually be a completely different webinar, wouldn't it?
It totally would be, and it would not be with me.
But I want to thank you so much, Christine McDuffie, and all of you out there in the audience, and of course, Christine Whitmore for all the great information that's been shared today. And of course, to thank Ceramic Tile Education Foundation for their generous sponsorship for all of our webinars this month. And I really appreciate your time and your questions, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you again, Christine.
Great. Thanks, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.